good afternoon. Yeah. Can you hear us? Wave. Wave. Give us a wave. Yeah. Get in there. Hey, it's great to see people here. Oh, look, I can see all your faces. So don't pick your nose around. Only joking. You know what I like. Anyway, today, yes, experimenting with what you've got. So just to explain those people who might be new to me, I'm Lou Withers, and I was an art teacher for many, many years, and my absolute thing is to teach. So to get this opportunity was just perfect. So using like small amounts of paint or product, you can create amazing effects. And I think when we strip it right back and do it like this, you really get a good feel for maybe doing it with other products you've got and mixing them with it, because that's what it's about. In this day and age, we've got to make sure that what we're doing, we're getting the most out of. So I came up with some techniques for you, which I'm just going to quickly show you that we'll go through. Hopefully, if you can join in, that's even better. But sometimes it might be easier to actually just watch it and then do it. So I've got, I'm looking at all these faces. Look at all these people. It's lovely to see you. You've all got woolies on. You've all got woolies on. And I look like I've never changed my clothes. Anyway, so it's my same outfit. Yeah, it's like a shawls thing. I think I forget to take it off, you know. Anyway, I've got, I'm so happy. I love this bit where I can see you as well, because I don't know, I like the interaction. I love the idea of you being able to ask questions later on. If you would like to ask any questions, just pop it in the chat, and the superhero Andrew will try his best to relay it to me. It's not him. I am terrible at this. I don't do this right. So it's like, you are. So bear with me with that. But he's genius. So he'll probably run like smooth silk, but it won't be me, I can guarantee. So any questions, pop them in the chat. So here we're just looking at some different ideas of mixing your products. So this is just gesso with a little bit of colour. I won't be doing all these. I'll show you the ones we're doing, but this is just like the bounce off, as I call it, from what I was doing. And again, adding colour and texture. And I think people are a little bit scared sometimes. And I think that's where I come in and say, nah, you can't do it wrong, because you can't. There's no plan. And if you haven't got a plan, how do you know you've done it wrong? So there's a few of those. All done. I mean, they're not the base. That was just a bit of colour that was left, and I didn't want to waste it. So I did a few. And I like the texture, because when I paint them white, that'll be a beautiful relief in the background. This one I love, because on this one, I did the colours, and then I did some of the waxes over the top. And you've got this wonderful, like, three-dimensional. It's very easy. So easy. People like, nah, it's not easy. It really is. So today I decided that it might be a good idea to really strip it back to just a couple of colours that we used, that we all bought, and then playing with the ideas of what you can do. Okay, so we've got backgrounds, which we're going to do now, just using a sponge and one colour. This is self-coloured, so you do get like tonal work. That means tones, shades of colour. This is like a really simple background that you could do in, I think this one took about 4 or 5 minutes, not long. And again, we're going to use with the liquid aquastone, which is an amazing, I don't actually know if I'm using it for the right thing that it says, but I don't bother with that. I like to try everything. But I mean, I'm not sort of doing daft things with it, but I like to experiment to see what I can do with it. And to me, it's got this amazing gilt, you know, this shine, and I just love it. So we're going to be doing a bit of that. So you can see the shine on it. You know, it's like a resin. It really is clever stuff. But you can get a glass paper. Some of you may remember years ago, Tim Holtz brought out glassine, I think it was Tim, and it was that beautiful paper, and it was almost like a crinkle, and it creates stuff like that. And then another one where we do a little blended one. And then on the show, the actual show that I did with Janice, I showed you how to do the blend. So we'll go back to that as well. And then stamping, which is, you know, stamping with the paint, it's brilliant. So I've got a range of papers. I've got some offcut. I always like to use offcuts because a big paper, unless I'm making a massive background, is a bit daunting. So I like to get the offcuts that I've got. Oh, that's quite a nice one to show you as well. And different sizes. Now, different papers react differently. I've got some watercolour paper. I've got some paper that is a mixed media paper. It looks like watercolour paper, but it doesn't react the same. And then I've got some stamping card, because I've been getting some amazing effects with stamping card just recently doing my lives. So enough talk, let's get on. It's lovely to see you all. I hope you're all sitting comfortably with a big brew or whatever you've got, and I'm just looking at all the names. I wish we had my glasses on. So can I just say, these are brilliant because you can use them for everything. They're like, do you remember the old stamp? No, what was it called? This is a better version of that. It's like that bit you can warm up and put a stamp in it. You can stamp into that and create your own stamp. And that one is sponge, but it's washable. So I'm not messing about buying low. It's all washable, but I'll show you. So what I'm going to do then is, sorry about that. I'm just going to get one little bit of colour. I've got that as well to use. That's it. That's an old piece of card. So it's like mount board. I like to try paints on it to see how well it covers. Okay, so we've got that. So the first thing I'm going to do is just going to show you quickly on a small piece how we do the mixing of the colours. So I've got a little bit of gesso, a little bit of colour. Now please don't be tempted to put loads out, because you can pick it up, put more in, but you're wasting it. It's heartbreaking. Right, just a little bit of, you do not need a lot. And I would say if you want paint, if you want black, you need a tiny bit of black. I'm using that, and I'm going to use the gesso as well. Just have my. Now I'm not too worried about leaving paints out. You know why? Because the heat normally dries it. Well, it's warm in here, but as you know, it's snowing. So I'm just going to bob the gesso down. White paint, anything. Now, I always like to use different, it sounds daft, but I use 2 different paint pots. There's a reason for this. I'll just bring it in to show you, into shot, right? So that I rinse and clean, right? Because when you've got any gesso or acrylic, it's a sediment that it's like the particles they don't dissolve, they're suspended in the water. So if you've ever noticed that when you've washed something and you throw the water away, you've got that film, that's what this is. So that's why if you rinse the water in that, and that only, you're going to get that on your paintbrush all the time. So having a clean one means that you're cleaning the brush properly, or the sponge. So that's why I do it. So the next thing is, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a squirt with water. I just like to do this just to loosen the fibres. So squirt with water, and then just give it a second. So now I'm going to also squirt my sponge. You don't need a lot. I used to put loads of water on it, and it was like, oh, for goodness sake, it's like a lake. So a little bit down on you, a little bit down on there, and then I'm just going to the edge, hardly any. Right, the less water you use, the faster it dries, and the less chance you have of, if you water down the particles in the paint, then the glue is being loosened around it, so they don't fit together and they don't stay put. So the idea is, you just want to soften. It's like putting a bit of moisturiser on, and you see how things glide on over the top. It's just the same as that. So that's stamping card, believe it or not, and it's took that really well. It's very, very thin layer. I see people, and I like this with gesso, you don't need to do that, because all you're doing is creating a layer, and you might think it's dry on the top, and you go to put it in and it's like a pudding, it's all soggy in the middle. So I'm going to do the same with this. While these are all drying, get your mojo flowing, And I'm just going to do this again. I won't talk through it. This is the end of one of my watercolour pads when I've cut off something. And there we go, we've got that. So now I'm going to take a stencil, one of my stencils. They've been very popular, I can't wait to show you next. Oh. Anyway, so believe it or not, a thin layer of this, stippled. Now, I don't want to drag it, because what you're going to do when you do that, push it under. You're going to push it under the stencil because it's already damp, and then you'll get like a halo effect. I don't want that. I want it to be texturized and quite crisp. So I've done that. Right, just going to leave it a second, and I'm going to pull a colour. So we'll pull a colour. We'll go with that. I'm going to damp that off. And if you put too much water on, just give it a little bit of it. Normally I use my shirt, so I'm being really posh today. Me? Posh? No. So I've now, because I've got the white base on, I can now just go in like that. Get the other side. Keep one side clean. I know this, you're like, oh, why tell me? Seriously, a lot of people don't realise that once you try and put white back over a colour, because if it's a strong colour like that aubergine, you've had it, you know, it's really difficult. So keep one edge for one colour and a little bit more. So I'm just spreading this on. I'm going to go back with my white. Again, can you see the water? There's no problem. You just know that there's more water on there. And then I'm just going to build up the texture. And then this will just need to sit and dry. Don't worry about trying to smooth it around. And if you get blobs, even better. So, there we go. If I put a little bit more paint on, I'll get some sharp, deep details. But this very versatile tool, this sponge. Now I'm gonna see if it's, oh yeah, it's all right that. But don't forget, you've got that as well. So if you've got another piece of card, like the back of the one that's waiting to dry, just give it a wipe on there. You'd be surprised. Some of these are the best pieces I get, just to clean off, and you get a nice little like residue. And I always used to say, you know, once you've mucked up a piece of paper, you don't mind mucking it up even more. So we've got that. So we've got this build up here. The other, I haven't done the other side. Okay, so we've got a build up there, which is, it's lovely, and I can see the colour blending, as we say. But I want to make that a little bit posher, if I can. So all I'm going to do is see how strong it is. So my advice, really, that little bit of water at the beginning. I'm trying to keep this clean because I am such a mucky, you know, all the kids used to say, Miss, you're making a right mess. I know. And then the parents would come, you know, my child's this, my child's that, and my child's now really mucky. I was like, oh dear, that one is my fault, but I just get carried away. So try and keep your space clean so you're not contaminating colours. Just bring that in. Now, I've got a line there, quite like that line, but I want to sort of blend it now. So all I'm going to do is do that, because what's happened is I want to create another texture there. Right, so when I cut that off, oh, if you get that, don't worry, I'll put a little bit there. That's the water that's smeared on it. It doesn't matter. You can get that back on. Oh no, I can't there. There we go, all done. So leave that to dry, and then we're going to do, so that basically is like doing these. So you put a colour down like we did the white, and then put colour over it, and then you can just stamp willy-nilly how you want, but basically it's building up layers. I will put some more on that. So the next one, we'll just have a look at this blended one, and we're going to do this, we're going to do this one quite quickly, and it sort of flows. So the idea of this one, I'll use it on the tag actually, is to get you your products all ready. Oh, I love this. Get that. Love it. It's like peeling off glue. I love it. I've not put an hole in it, but who cares? Look, it's great stuff. Right, that's way too much, but I will use it because I'll use it on all my prep. So, remember I said about slick, giving it a slick. Give it a slick. Now, you might have blobs of paint. Don't worry, just take a little bit off. You don't need a lot of water because that kills your paint sometimes, unless you want it watery. Are we all enjoying it so far? I want to see everybody's hands. Yay, I've got a thumb. Don't want to see anybody else. Only thumbs, please, nothing else. No. Are you enjoying it? Yeah. Cool, right. So I've wet that down. Now what we're going to do, as I did it with the paint, I did it with the white paint. What I'm going to do now is do it with the Aquastone. And I'm going to do the whole thing. Only see how thick this is. Yeah, it's quite viscous. So the water has allowed me to get it a really good, what I call glide. And it only makes sense. It's a word I made up. But it was a way that I could sort of get it through to what the consistency I wanted when I was doing it. So it feels like it's got a glide underneath it. And then just give it doesn't matter about brush marks. If you want brush marks, if not, it doesn't matter because we're going to change it. Now, keep this in the opposite one, because that's clean water. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get another brush. Now, it does help if it's a wider brush, I must admit, because although you've got time with this, and there is an extender and a blender in the range, which are amazing, but we're using this one. You have got time, but you don't want to take too long because you want it to flow. So believe it or not, I'm going to go with white. So I'm going to put white over the top of it. Now there's two ways you can do it, and I'm going to show you both ways. I'm going to put white. Now white is the easiest colour to cover. So you always put the lightest colour first. So if I was using yellow and green, it would be yellow, because that's so easy to just, the colours underneath are so intense. So there we go. So we've got it, it's gliding again, and that's good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of pink. So this is the light pink. It's best if you get a light, medium and dark within your range. And I'm going to pop that in the middle, just like that. Now, it might be hard to see, but I've just put a line there. But you don't need plenty, but what you do need is something, that you know it's going to glide. So now, I can tell my brush is too runny, because look. So what you do is make sure, when you wash your brush, clean it. And you only need, I used to say, a mere suggestion of the dark colour. So, right, now, I'm going to put some more on. And I'm just, can you hear me, just flicking it? I'm just flicking it now, up and down, up and down. I'm not doing anything special. I'm not trying to be sort of, not posh, like clever. I'm just flicking it up and down. And the more I do it, and the more I add, watch, the more it blends. Told you it was easy. And then at the top, you just go back in and put that out. Oh, bit of that. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about that. Just clean your brush off. Try not to wash it. You'll notice Steph doesn't wash her brush either. But then put the aqua back on. Clean that off. I told Andrew that was going to be good today. I've got all my plans. And he just went, right, I'll keep you to that. So I have. Been very good. So I've got that, but it looks a bit insipid in the middle. So this is where you go back. So the rule of thumb I used to always say is you go light, medium, dark, medium, light, if that makes sense. Because that way you're building up layers of colour, you're getting it how you want it. Now, I'm going to put a little bit more of the dark out. See what I mean? I'm not left with a huge pile. Although I've got my pots here, and I've had these in those pots for weeks now. I really mean it. I won't tell you that because I'm not allowed to anyway. So, and it's against the law. So just putting a little bit more of the dark in, bringing that dark up, not too far, and I'm flicking. If I was to show you the motion, I'm flicking. So I'm taking the paint through. I've not got all the paint all the way up. The only reason I've got paint up the brush is because it's travelled there itself. I don't load, we use the tip of the brush, whereas when you're working, say, with the beautiful flowers that Steph does, she uses the full brush to blend, and she puts so you see, you can do it on that as well. But I mean, I've been doing it a while, but if you start doing this, what happens is it gets one colour. I'll just show you what I mean. It's still blending, but it's getting to be, you're losing that colour and more that. So let's have a little look at this. So we've got a fingerprint, which is really handy. So clean your brush off again. Have a quick look, blend it in the light, and you can see it's blended, but it still looks jagged. So we'll see, maybe a bit more. So I'm just going to put a little bit more at the bottom, just like that, and just brush that up. Bit more aqua stone to let it come all the way up a bit more. Right, can you see? I don't want to move any more because I'm going to lift the paint. That's a really good point. Don't keep going over it, you'll lift the paint. So again, clean that, and I'm going to go in with the pink in the middle. The other way you can do this, which might be helpful for people, is to take a little bit of the dark colour and then the light colour, and sort of go in and make it on your palette, so that when you come on to here, see what I mean, you've already made that colour, but you've got a line now, but that won't matter. So a bit more blending solution, clean your brush off. And we're going to go to the white. Over here would be better. See, I keep pulling it. That's one thing you have to do, is make sure that you don't put your fingers in it, because it is sticky. It needs to dry, but it really doesn't matter for me because this is the background. So now I've got that blend, I've got that line. Now I can still see a line there, and that annoys me. So we're going very lightly, and I put a little bit of light in it and a little bit of dark in it, and like that. You keep, and once you really have got this, and it won't take you long, honestly, it won't take you long. See here, don't worry about that. You can put that later on, you can put it darker. There you go. But you wouldn't be able to do this as much as I've done if you didn't put the aqua stone on. You really don't, because you haven't got the lasting glide. There we go. I really love that. So we've got a darker part there, which I don't mind. So I'm going to leave that to dry. Okay, so you can see you get that's a really fine glass like finish. So let's have a look at this one now. Yep, this is the first one we did. So I'm going to clean my brush in the white one. Give myself a little bit of a clean here, she says. Now, what I would suggest when you're cleaning all these paints is, I wouldn't necessarily do it like this. What I would do is, I would say, right, okay, leave it till the end and then scrape it all off and put that in the bin, because it's like a powder then, and it works easier to clean up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create, here they are, here's my stencil. Get another stencil now, and I'm going to build up a layer. Or shall I use, no, I'll use that one, I think. So, yeah, that's all dry. What I'm going to do now is something I wasn't going to do, but I will, because I think it'll look nice. So I'm going to get what we call like a veil. So a veil is, like it says, it takes that, knocks it back, takes the edge off. And I'm just going to put that like a veil so I can put another colour on it. So let's go with a very light. I'm only using what's on here. So to make it quite vintagey, but I don't want a lot of colour. Like a wash. but it softens it down. There we go. Paper towel, and I'm just going to take the excess off. So it's knocked it back now. Like that. You can keep adding it if you want, but it's just took that edge off it. So now I'm going to get another stencil and maybe work another colour over the top. So I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to go, got the white, sorry, and the pink together. Now there's a reason. I've had lots of people say to me, well, what's the point of putting that one down underneath? Well, the reason for that is because you need it there to see it. And it is part of it, you know, you can see it later on. I'm just going to grab some more. I can put a bit more gesso out. And I love the consistency of this gesso. It's just brilliant because it's actually thick enough to sort of sculpt. It's brilliant stuff. So I gave it a minute then, and that will give it a minute to dry. There we go. So what we've got is a layer on a layer where you're looking at a layer there. So I'll put one here as well, just a diagonal. It's just to balance it. But I'm not, because gesso isn't a paint, it's a primer. So it's not got the same coverage, no, opacity as a paint, such as a white acrylic. But I just wanted to show you with really restricted ideas and products, yeah. So there we go. So we've got another one there. We'll leave that to dry. All right. So now I'm just going to put a very light wash. So I'm going to get another piece of card. I'm going to leave all these to dry. Then get yourself a baby white. Best thing ever. Don't get a really nice juicy one though. You need one that's been out for a bit. So if you've got a juicy one, just give it a bit of a take it off, because what we don't want is to put too much water into it, moisture again. So you really give it a good squeeze. And it smells nice. Right, so it's not wet, it's not dry, it's just right. So I've got a stencil. I'm just going to place it on it, and I'm going to show you how I do a collage with a stencil using just the colours that I've got here. So I'm going to use different parts of this. So I'm going to start with, don't even know you've got paint on there. Bit more. So we've got that. I'm going to add a bit of white to it. Can you see? I've really dried this off, so it's hardly giving you any paint. But don't worry, because that you can add paint, you can add water, but if you start it too wet, it really does ruin it. You get all sorts of horrible bleeds and stuff. Some bleeds you want because it creates lovely textures, but some you just really don't want. So happy with that. I'm going to put this one on. I'm going to go with pink. I have dried it a little bit too much, but you'll know, because if it's too hard to paint with, then you've got a little bit of water to put on. So I'm just putting in a little bit of the white and the pink together, and then I'm blending that over. And then another little trick is get that nice, put this on as well, and then I'm just going to go right, and then I'm going to put that on the top. Right, so we've got lots of colours. Looks a bit, there's a bit here, but when that dries, you can see it's got shine on that, so it will look different. I'm not too happy with this one here. So if you do get one that's a bit blobby, please don't, worry about it. You can just stick it to dry, and then what you can do is then put more paint on it. So I'll just show you now. I'm just going to get Shall I try? Yeah, I'll try it with the white, the same way. And I'm going to show you a little trick if I brought it. I hope I brought it. I brought the kitchen sink, so I can't see why I haven't brought that. Right, so I've got that on there. See how it's broke it up now, which is brilliant. I'm going to put another one in there. So that's another thing. When you're looking at your stencils, look for patterns within patterns. So I've got a circle there. I've got that there. Would it look good on it? Well, I don't know. Let's try. And I think, there we go. A bit more white on it. Maybe it needs something in here. There we go. And I'd leave that and keep building it up. I will build it up now while you're here because it's, obviously, I want to show you it all. But I want to show you a little thing with just the aqua stone. I'm not going too fast, am I, or too slow? Is it okay? Is everyone understanding what I'm doing? Yeah, you can watch it all back if you've, missed anything. So I just want you to sort of get these ideas and then you think, oh, I could do that with it. Or come and ask me. Please come and ask me if there's anything. Or come and have a look at my lives. And you'll see what we do with them all. So here all I'm doing is, I'm just going to use this one because it's here. But I'm just going to go in with the residue that's on there. Get my arm out of there. And this becomes what we call like a resist. Remember we used to do it years ago when you just stamp an area, emboss it, and then it'd be like a clay. Well, this is exactly the same, but it's in a big version. Now, what you can do is put embossing powder in that and dry it, and you get an even bigger glaze. So that's another thing you can do. Oh, it's just infinite. So we get, I hope, I know how good David is, you get that glaze, and it's beautiful because it's like, oh, is it there? What's that? And that's the effect you get, that wonderful glazed look. I love that, absolutely love it. So I know we're nearing the end, so we'll look at, oh, halfway through. I got longer than I thought. Oh yeah, I know what we'll do. I forgot what I was going to do then. Right, so going to get some more gesso out. You see how I keep coming back? I don't get it all out at once because you don't need to. You really don't need to. We're going to look at mixing really strange colours. Strange. But purple and green are amazing colours. Absolutely amazing. So you're like, how can you put purple and green together? When you think about nature, green is everywhere, purple is everywhere, so it's going to be a really natural thing. But when we're putting it in paint, believe you me, it looks like, oh, I'm not too sure about that colour. So I'll just put a bit down here, and this is just the aqua. This is watercolour paper. It's Fabriano Academy. It's one that I've used for many years. You've seen me probably on Create and Craft with it. Again, this is what I'm scrubbing. Scrubbing is a texture where the paint has been absorbed, the aquastone has been absorbed into the surface, so you can see all the marks I made at the beginning. So I am just now picking up those marks by scrubbing. And this is also like dry scrubbing. You can call it dry scrubbing or you can call it dry brushing. So I'm just going to put a little bit more on. Like that. Right, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a brush. I'm going to get an angled brush. Oh no, I'll use this one. And this is really important. You need it totally dry. Well, as dry as you can get. There's a little trick you can do. If you leave your paintbrushes in, it shouldn't tell you this, but I'm not responsible if your paintbrushes go doolally, but if you've got paintbrushes and they go like that because you've left them in water, if you clean them off, get a pan of boiling water, dip them in, they go perfect again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry brush. Right, I'm pouncing. This is the only time I push the paint into the brush. So the paint is actually what, an inch? I don't know, 5-10 centimetres. See, there's too much water in it now because it's still gliding, but And that's dry brushing. You can just see the texture you get. So what happens is your paint is resembling the bristles on your brush. That's as easy as it is. Now you can get wisp brushes, which I adore, which it looks like it's like when your mum cut your fringe. You know what I mean? Like that. And it's really good. They're called wisp brushes. So this is the effect you get. Now that's with purple. I'm just going to do a bit here so that we can see a bit more. Because at the moment it looks a bit like, well, she's just made a mess. So, there we go. That's better. So dry brushing is a great way of getting like a faux texture. Can you see now? It looks more like if I started to put plants in it and stuff. And I'll show you what to do with that. It's really simple to do with it. So I could put like a scene in there, and if I bring it in here, it looks like it's a closed-in woodland. But it doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be. But these are all these techniques you've just seen, right, will be now put on this. It's dry, so it's like I've got a nice surface. It's been primed. So I've got the gloss on it. Now we're going to adjust everything that we've done to create something. And I mean, no one, don't get me wrong, no one could do flowers, you know, Steph's way, but Steph, because they're amazing. But I want to show you a little trick that I've learned and I've shown people, and they've been amazed. And because they've been really happy about what they've done, they've gone on to do other things, like really brilliant things with artwork, because they're not worried. So I hope you get that. So I'm going to clean the brush. I'm going to bring in a little bit of the green, only a tiny bit. I don't want a lot. And I've got the walnut, which is one of my favourites. I can't believe the colour of this. It's stunning. And again, come on. There we go. So I'm going to do why I told you say about Steph is, the reason is I'm not ever going to try and emulate anybody, because they do what they do the best. So no point in copying anybody. But what I'm going to do is show you a quick way of practicing and getting into that. So I've got my brush, and I've used a normal brush because if I was to use a wisp, it wouldn't be fair on you. And I've got the green, and I'm going to pick up a bit of the purple, because the purple will make it a lovely dark green. Believe it or not, they really work well together. So I need some more. I love this stuff. This is still only my first bottle. Right, so I've got the green with the purple. I'll show you the colour of it. Right, and that's the colour of it mixed, and that's the colour of it without a mix. Can you see it's toned it down now, right? So scrub my brush. Right, I'm going to start from the bottom and work up. So I'm dry brushing all the way up, simple, a little bit of the green, a little bit of the purple, a bit more. There, so I've got that on there, and we've got that depth. I'm going to go on top of this just while it's drying. I'm tickling the surface. So pounce your brush off and just flick. So can you see now we've got a little bit of colour and shine on it. So we've still got our purple. It's given us a really nice base at the bottom. But now we just want that. So what we want to do is just create a little bit of interest at the top. Like a hanging branch, so to speak. So if you want to turn your brush around and then just feather it down like that. So we've got that. Can you see? It's just like hanging. It's really simple to do. It's just brush strokes. And once you've got, one of the things you need to do is muscle memory. So you need to make sure, it's a bit like warming up, that if you want to know how to dry brush, you do it on paper first, keep doing it like that, and then continue on it. You've got your muscles remembered what to do. If you're doing round, just keep doing it, and then move on to your card and paper, and it just keeps doing it. So muscle memory is really important. This is the next thing that you need to do now, is change to a finer brush. And the finer brush can be what we call a round, and it's just a round. Yep. Now, well loved. Who cares what that's like, as long as you can hold it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with the dark green, the dark purple. I'm going to go really dark with this if I can. And I'm going to test it. Nice green, that, isn't it? So, get your hand comfy, it's not comfy there. And I'm like that, I'm sort of pulling it off. If it was to show you side on, I'll show you from the top, I'm sort of going like that. Okay, can you see? I've got some lines happening there. I'm going to add a little bit of the walnut to it. Now I'm going to go in with the dark purple. Not a lot, you just need little bits, because as things come forward they go darker, so you're trying to create like depth. Okay, so if you want to mix the purple with the walnut, you get this colour. It's just mesmerising, look at that, beautiful. Show you on here. So that's the walnut green. Look at that colour. Now I hope that makes you realise just how easy it is to get amazing colours just by using what you've got. And the idea of it is play. Don't forget to play. Everybody, we all forget to play. Don't. So I'm going to try the pink I've got. Just going to try the pink with the walnut and see what we get here. Ooh, let's see. That'd be a nice light colour. Oh, lovely. And because I've mixed it with the same colours I'm using, they're all going to match. It's if I introduce something else. So I'm going to put this in as well. Now, if you've got a big blobby line like that, don't worry, go back to another colour and soften it up. But I don't really mind because that'll be hidden soon. Okay, so got that so far, everybody, yeah? Do you think you could do that? Give us a thumbs up, please. Do you think you could do it? Get in! Result, yes! Get in, that's what we want. Right, now, here's the best bit. All you need to do is either have a blobby tool, the end of your paintbrush, or a thin, I've got a rigger, but you don't need a rigger. I don't want anyone to think they need a rigger. You just need a fine round. And all we're going to do is we're going to do some paint. Now, I want to darken this pink because it's not the colour I want. So I'm going to take the pink here, which is a right mess, sorry. And I don't care if, oh, and a bit of the green. So it's toned it down. And then I want a bit of the red and the aubergine. And the reason I want that is because I want it a bluer version. So can you see that's a bluer version than that? It's really important you try your paints, honestly, it really is. Then I'm putting pink on one side, cleaning my brush in that, rinsing it in that. And hopefully you can see from above, but can you see? They stay clean. One's really mucky. Yeah? And there's my clean one. So my brush is absolutely clean. So 2 pots or anything is really good to do. So I've got the pink and now the white. So I'm adding colours to my palette here. And this is how they would have used it years ago with oil paints. They would have added a big palette and they would have added colour. And they would have added colour over each colour. So the mixtures are all there. And, you know, if you're using watercolours, those mixtures you use again and again. If you're using acrylics, you need to make enough because it's hard to, you know, replicate. So here, right, you ready? This is, we'll practice big, okay? We'll practice big. So I'm going to go in with, I'll go with a dark colour so you can see it. Shall I use another piece? Yeah. And we're going to go, okay. Again. Right. 1 flower. Don't laugh. I know you're saying, well, that's not a flower. Now we'll go the opposite way and you see what happens now. Lavender. So it's just about the paintbrush and the colours you use. That's not a lavender colour, so it won't give you the, well, I suppose you get a hybrid of it, but it won't give you the idea of lavender. So by doing this, making these colours, you're going to get that lavender feel. So I'm just going to do it on here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go, do I need a little bit more? Yeah. Get comfortable with your paint. And then I'm going to choose one of these and I'm just going to go that way. Now it's quite little, but I'm going to colour it up a minute just to show you. Right, so now some lavenders have got like a butterfly effect, so they get like a fluffy bit on the top, and that's, you can do any flower you want because it's yours. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And the you know, you can do anything you want. It's yours. So we've got a white one. I'm going to go with a pink one all the way up here. Maybe a dark one. I just want you to be able to see it. Like that. Keep mixing colours and getting a different shade while you're working. And then you've got, in essence, you've got a really pretty, layered, very achievable, quite advanced piece of work, because all these I'm showing you now are like years of training, you know. But it is easy. Once you break it down, it really is easy. And that's the bit, you know, I don't want people to come around thinking it's too hard, because that's what people, especially artists, they want you to think, oh, it's too hard, you've got to come and do it with me. But, you know, no, you break it down and you get some brilliant effects. And it's so simple. I'm just going to use a different sort of flick now, just to give it a, if I had a really fine brush, it would be even easier to do, but I've got quite a, number ones are great for this. But if you use, say, I'll try it here for you. Start here with a bell. I'm just drawing like, I'll show you it big up, up. You draw it in that shape. Like a paisley. Or just a blob, like that. And then I'm just putting that quite large there, just to give it a bit of a sort of composition wise. Now what I am going to do is, I don't normally use black, but I might use a little bit of the black just to give it a little bit more definition. I don't normally use black because I don't really, well, we're taught never to use it. We're taught, oh wait, there it is, that's enough. We're taught to use all the other colours that you're using to make the darkest colour, or black. So we don't tend to use it. I'm just going to put little blobs on them to get a bit of dark. And I'm just going to pull some lines down. So now if you can't use a paintbrush like this, guess what you can do? Just get a pen. Do it with a pen. It's as easy as that. So now what I'm going to do is, while I'm here, I'm going to make this wonderful green a tiny bit darker for the front to get rid of some of these lines, and I'm just going to go flicking it off. And the movement I'm using, so if you want it more watercolour-y, that's fine. If you want it a bit thicker, put more paint in, but use only the paints you've got on your table and that you're using, because then it will all work together. So I'm just going to hang, I quite like that now, I like that little loop in. I think we need some lines joining that there. And I'm just going to put in, I think I'll put in some little, they're called Secura, but it's just, well, they're basically blossoms. Too much paint, too much water. But you can't really see them, they're just there for effect, so that it doesn't look a bit bare. So I'm going to go back in with that green, and I'm just going to go, really, if you wanted a pen to do it. So I've got some dotted lines. Tell you another good thing is, because you've got that layer on when you first did it, you've got, like, it's easy to wipe off at the beginning. I'm just going to put at the beginning, at the front, a little bit of white so that the loopings look like loopings. Maybe a little bit more here. Get a bit more water, and you can start to see it starts to come alive. So everything that we've done today, lesson-wise, technique-wise, can come to make this, and it's amazing when you start to put things maybe in, you start to put them in frames as well. I've got a frame down here. If you just carry on looking at that, I will get my frame. It's important, this. Did I bring it? Did I bring it? If not, I'll show you using another thing. Yay, I thought I had. Right, I want to show you a little trick, because we'll all be very, I don't like that, that doesn't look good. And, oh, before that, let me show you what I'm going to do. Right. So, you've got paper. Done. Right, that's done. Leave that to dry. There's a background done. And that's just paint. So do another one. Get your gel plate out. And another one done. Like I say, normally I would be leaving it to dry, but I can't today. So I want to show you what I want you to do next time with your work. I want you to try this, and I want you to think about what I'm saying, that you look at your work in a certain way. You'll never be happy with it, but when you start to look at it with a frame on it, you suddenly become it suddenly becomes like an artist's piece of work because you put a frame around it. I'll show you what I mean. So here we've got that, which was a background. So now if I put that on it, you suddenly got quite a nice texture to put on. Maybe you could do a decoupage butterfly or anything on it. So let's look at this one. So I've done it like that, so move it down. And each part of your paper has a different feel. It's like a waterscape, that one. So here's another light to dark. So you could put that one we've just done on it. Bit too much that, but if you used to put decoupage on it, it would look really cool. Here's the glossy one we did. Oh, and then that's all right. I'm not a lover of that one just yet, but this one is one of the ones I did before. Let me show you with that other one. There was another really good one, and I'll show you what it looks like. Where's it gone? Come on, come on. Right, I'm just going to get a normal piece of paper, put that down, and suddenly you've got like a really nice piece of artwork. You know, and simple things. I did some little cards and little simple things like this, and it's all done the same way. You know, all done exactly the same way, using the techniques that I showed you. Oh, the last one, forgot to show you this. This is white gesso, cleaning my stencil, and that's quite pretty because you've got that texture. And if I was to get like a tiny bit of the paint, I wonder if I can do it now. Yeah, tiny bit of the paint and just rub over it. Can you see it coming out? So you bring the texture out of it as well. So basically, look at your work. If you don't like it, leave it, come back to it. But remember, have fun. It's a background. It's not meant to be a masterpiece. Once you get your background sorted, then anything else you do with the paints is a plus. And like these here, I'm going to die cut. Let me bring these in. If I die cut a flower out of that, that'll look gorgeous, especially if I do a couple and arrange them and have them on a muted background, something lighter. Or if I just have that as a background with a small picture in the middle. So even the waste, there is no waste. Oh, here we go. You can just see this is dried now. So we had a tiny bit on of the aqua stone, and you can see it's just called what we call a resist. So it's with it being acrylic, it resists paints that are underneath, so you can wipe it free. So I'll just show you what I mean. So here I've just got the baby wipe. It has to be dry, and the paper that hasn't got the aqua stone on will remain white because it's trapped underneath that. It's trapped underneath the paper, underneath the aqua stone. So just a tiny bit of green for the other side. And then the trickiest bit, which isn't tricky at all, really, not with these paints anyway, is to blend. And then you could take it off. Once it's dry, you can wipe it off your aqua stone. So there you go, that's the resist. So you've got loads of techniques. I mean, let's see what that looks like with our, very different, isn't it? It's almost like if we do it that way, it's a landscape, isn't it? It's a landscape with your flowers and stuff. Ooh. So, I think that's the end of it. It's been a real pleasure. Has anyone got any questions or? No, you're all good. Well, I hope that was what you was expecting. I hope it was a little bit more, and I hope you've enjoyed it, because that's all I want. I want to bring all these textures, techniques, processes to you using very little product, because the product is good on its own. You don't need tons of it. What you need to do is know how to use it, and I hope I've been able to do that for you today. I hope to see you again, and I hope that, like I say, you got value for money, because we all need that. So any questions or anything, or if you've got any work, perhaps send it in and let's see what you do. Okay, some of you are asking how to review it or rewind, whatever. In the next few days, once the wonderful people have done their magic bit, made me look better, not, you'll get a note, an email, and it'll tell you the code and everything, and you just put that in. Yeah, and it's like a private link to the video so that no one else can have it, and then you watch it as much as you want. We'll put it on, I tell you what, why don't we say, well, if you want to send in work, I'm just thinking, perhaps you could send it into Highlight Crafts, Cadence, and put my name under it into the main one, and then, you know, like in the blog and on the Facebook, send it to Facebook, that's it. Send it to Facebook. We could have our own, we'll open our own album, and we'll have the Cadence, oh yeah, right, Facebook, Cadence, is that all right? Yes, we'll be first. Absolutely. If you have got that, you like that, and you want to do some more work, show me. You can email me at louwithers.com. That's my website. My email is louwithers@me.com. But if you go to my website, louwithers.com, all my info is on there. And yeah, there's a little piece on my website that we can put artwork in there as well. So I really want to see it. I'm not just saying that, I really do, because I want to see how you get on with this, and then I can nick all your ideas as well. Anyway, so I'm going to say goodbye, and a big thank you to you all. It's been wonderful. I've loved it. And I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye.